Welcome to Mpowered Living. I'm Sheu. On this podcast, innovative leaders and visionary experts share insights and practical tools for work, family, and marriage. Each episode, we'll explore how to elevate your life while staying grounded in what truly matters to you. You're working hard to navigate relationships, build a thriving family, and create a legacy of purpose. We're here to help you do that with confidence and intentionality. So if you're ready to live a life by design, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Mpowered Living. I'm your host, Sheu, and my guest today is Donna Zajonc. Donna is a leadership expert, a coach, and the co-creator of the Empowerment Dynamic, a framework that helps people move out of reactive patterns and into a more intentional, empowered way of living. In this episode, we talk about the dreaded drama triangle, the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer roles we can fall into when we are triggered, and how to shift into the creator, challenger, and coach roles instead. We also explore why these patterns show up so quickly in our closest relationships and how to notice when you're reacting instead of choosing. And Donna shares practical tools for calming your nervous system, quieting the inner critic, and coming back to the question, who do I really want to be on the way to what I want? This is a thoughtful and grounding conversation about choice, self-awareness, and creating better relationships with ourselves and the people around us. Let's dive in. Donna, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here today.
And very good to see you again. It's been a lot of years, so thank you for asking me to join you.
Well, I'm really excited about this conversation. So I've got so much I want to talk to you about. So let's just dive in. I know that your work really centers on helping people shift from reactive patterns into a more intentional, creator way of living. First, I would love for you to just tell the listener about this creator way of living. What does that mean? What is that framework that this work really centers on?
Yeah, wow, that's a big question. We just got right into it, didn't we? Wow, creator essence, creator way of living. So it comes from the empowerment dynamic, which is what David Emerald and I created. David has passed from this earth very recently, but for 20 years, we worked together to create a company around a framework. And it was his epiphany that these reactive patterns that are named through the drama triangle, and we can say more about that later, but basically the drama triangle names these three primary reactive patterns by Dr. Cartman in the 70s, 60s. He said, when we get triggered, we go reactive, we constrict, we resist what's going on. There's three primary patterns. We tend to step away and feel victimized and hopeless and can't figure out what's to do. Or we step in and really take charge, and that's the persecutor in us, the really controlling part in us. And then when those two patterns get all teed up, Dr. Cartman said, there's a third pattern. It's the rescuer, the pleaser that wants to step in and help. So David's epiphany was the positive parts of us that don't go reactive. That's our creator essence. So David said, what's the opposite in a moment of prayer and reflection? He said, I am tired of spending my life in this victim, persecutor, rescuer dance. What is the opposite? In the epiphany, he says, it was just like a voice that said, the opposite of victim is creator. You can create your own life. You have choice. And that is the source of our work of the empowerment dynamic, and named this new triangle. The opposite of victim is creator. The positive aspect of the persecutor is challenger, and the positive part of rescuer is to coach. So we can really go deeper into this creator essence is choice, is responsibility. It's asking, what do we really want and what is mine to do? I feel in my later years, it's even deeper. It's our divine essence. It's our wisdom. It's our heart-centered intuition if we'll listen. So I'll stop with that as a beginning to your big question about what is this creator essence?
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And before we move on, I just want to acknowledge David's contribution and impact on my life and just how much
Yeah.
gratitude I have for everything that he brought into this world, everything that both you and him have taught me. He was such an incredible mentor and coach and friend, and I miss him so much.
And an all around nice guy. He was very genuine, very authentic. And, this epiphany from his own experience has benefited thousands, I would say hundreds of thousands of people from his books and from our training community and our company called The Empowerment Dynamic. Yeah, thank you.
So, as we're thinking about shifting into this creator mindset, if somebody is listening, or maybe not even the listener, but just in general, as you've been working with people navigating this shift, what are some of
Yes.
the blind spots that you see people have as they are being introduced to this idea and are curious about it? Maybe they're trying to make a shift. What are some of those big blind spots that people have?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, the first one is being aware of your reactive patterns in general. And those reactive patterns can be contextual. They can how we react at work may be different from home or little league or church. But basically they're a pattern that responds to something we don't like and don't want in the moment. And those are many different patterns, and they're usually formed earlier in childhood. Our home culture when we're growing up are has a lot to do with our patterns. So the first blind spot is not even recognizing when we get upset and triggered and we just go off. And what we say in our own minds, we may not say it out loud, but boy, we are judging and it just shuts down the conversation. Or sometimes we really get angry and, explode, or we sulk, or there's all kinds of patterns, isn't there, Anne? We
Yeah.
could talk about both of ours because we know this framework has really helped us name the patterns. So that's the first thing, is to be aware of it. The second blind spot, I would say, is then judging your pattern, because that inner a lot of the time we think the persecutor part of the drama triangle is just external, that, that's how we relate to others or situations. But we turn on ourselves. And I find that inner persecutor, that inner critic, is probably the most dynamic and default oriented way we human beings go through life. I wish I had an answer of why we do that so frequently, but I think it's a blind spot to observe that inner critic without compassion, without appreciation for whatever it is that's going in the moment, and instead even get into a more critical. Now you're criticizing yourself for going reactive. So I'll start with that. I think there's some other blind spots, but how are those two landing for you?
Yeah, I mean, we could spend an entire episode just talking about my patterns and what happened. How
Yeah.
even after having done this work for so long, I still have blind spots around when I'm triggered and what that looks like.
So there could be a possibility of how that's happening, in that the more aware we become and the more we're able to name our reactive patterns in the situations, the more subtle it becomes.
Oh,
The more we see situations that we were totally blind to 5 years ago or just a year ago. And so having that ongoing compassion is essential, because I almost guarantee you, until our last breath, if we want to be awake at all to our patterns, we will start seeing more and more nuances. So another important point to this is to give yourself a break.
mm,
We humans are we are default to looking at life as a problem, to
mm,
looking at situations as, especially the Western mind, we we think we'll get ahead if we are a great problem solver, and probably are
yeah.
going to, but the challenge with that is then we start making ourselves a problem. And when we can let go of that, we start just noticing. I think the subtleties will forever keep unfolding for you, Anne. At least that's what I'm finding as an older person. Not that I do it well, but I'm going, oh my gosh, there's that pattern again. I thought I had managed or worked or suppressed or dealt with that one. Yeah.
Have you noticed that people generally tend to favor one of the dreaded drama triangle roles over another? And is there one that is more popular in general?
Yeah, so it's another great question. Yes, we have noticed this. So I call it, how do you enter the drama triangle?
Mm,
Uh, and I enter the drama triangle through the pleasing, rescuing route. I like to help. I mean, I'm in the business of helping people. So I'll immediately look for how can I ease the pain of what's going on in the situation. Absolutely, there are others that, for whatever reason, personality patterns, again, culture, family, might default towards leaning in and really taking charge. And while they may think they're just helping, what they're really doing is managing the chaos, managing the control of the situation or how they feel. And they tend to enter the drama triangle through the persecutor taking charge route. I have a dear friend, and she knows she sees me, calls me on my helping, pleasing, and then I call her on her telling, taking charge. And then there absolutely are others where enter to the, "Oh, I'll never get what I want,"
mhm.
the dream, I'm not even gonna dream anymore, I'll never get
Yeah.
what I want," that more victim-y mindset. And we do all 3. Absolutely. Have you noticed how you can enter in one and then all of a sudden it flips and
Oh,
you
yes,
think,
absolutely. But I would say I generally enter through persecutor.
do you? Taking
Yeah.
charge? How would you describe when you notice your persecuting tendencies? How does it show up for you?
I'm like, "Why would you do it that way? That doesn't make any sense. Come on, like, this should be done this way." So, I don't know, what do you call that?
Oh, yeah, that
When
taking charge, that tone, and it can manifest in lots of ways, sarcasm, harshness, telling.
Yeah.
My pleasing sounds like this, "Gosh, I'm so sorry, let me help you. If you just tried this and
Yeah,
this, it'll probably
yeah,
work out."
yeah.
The thing is, I think I'm rescuing, but how might others see
Mm,
me?
mm,
Oftentimes, they see me as a persecutor,
yeah.
even though I think I'm helping. So that's how it keeps flipping.
And I wanna just call out this example that you just used because I think it's an important nuance for the listener to understand. You just said, "Let me help you. Why don't you try this?" Right? And I think a lot of times when, for example, when I'm teaching the rescuer mindset, people think rescuer means like you're gonna come in and like kind of like nurture and like, but so much of rescuing, what I've seen, and I'm curious what your experience has been, but so much of rescuing is problem solving for the other person, right? Like,
Y
here are the solutions that I think would solve your problem. This is the advice that I have for you.
Yes.
And I don't think people typically put that into the rescuing category. Like, they wouldn't say, oh, this is me rescuing. This is, oh, I'm being helpful. I'm solving the problem. Like, I've got ideas. And
Yes.
I think sometimes they miss that that's actually rescuing in disguise.
Well, I think that's so good, yes, and I recently wrote a blog called "The Arrogance of the Rescuer,"
Mm.
and I think it was our most read blog.
Yes, that was
It
a
was
good one.
really interesting that because I see it myself, that I wanna help, but then when I keep pulling back the layers and another layer and another layer, I'm really telling. You know, I thought it was because my motivation was benevolent and just want to do good, and which is true, but yeah, gotta keep going deeper, and you're actually wanna control the situation, but why do you wanna control? Because you want the accolades for looking good and helpful. You want the love. You want each person may be a little different in their language they use, but, I mean, I wanna please, not to be authentically helping. Some people absolutely are, but we're talking about being stuck in the drama triangle here. It's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're really in this reactive mode, you must look at your motivation. And for many, many who are, and I'll just call it stuck in the rescuing, pleasing, uh, it is a much deeper motivation of wanting something in return.
Mm,
Wanting that appreciation, that worthiness, and it's exhausting
mhm,
because what's gonna happen, Ann, we're if our focus is on getting accolades, we're never gonna get enough, and we're eventually going to feel like a victim to all those that we're trying to help, and
Right.
that's how we race around the drama triangle.
Can you talk about so you just said, like, race around the drama triangle. Can you talk about not just this race within the drama triangle roles, but then this pinball effect between drama triangle back to empowerment dynamic, back to drama triangle, and how quickly that can happen, even in a matter of, like, seconds, you could pinball between each of those roles?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. This really gets into parts work and internal family systems and all kinds of other. One of the things I love about the empowerment dynamic and David's epiphany was that we're trying to simplify. We are simplifying here some very rich personal dynamics. And if we can see them operating in us, then we can start seeing it operating in our teams, in our families, in our business, and be able to observe it in a new way with new glasses and new lens. So this ping ponging, um, especially happens early when you start observing yourself and you start using some tools that maybe we could talk about, some techniques to be able to notice where you are at any moment and then ask yourself some questions, apply some new thinking, some new mindsets, and be able then to more fully rest in the empowerment dynamic and be there fully, who I am at choice, who I am as a challenger, and I can coach and develop others. But then something new is going to happen and you're going to get triggered, you're going to get activated, and you're going to ping pong back. Is that kind of what you're talking about? How you
Yep.
can just go back and forth? Yeah. Advice after all these years of working with this is say, yep, that's going to happen. So what? I'm going to notice it and give ourselves a break and keep learning and keep noticing. Being human is quite challenging. If you're awake to it,
Yeah.
it's sometimes it's easier just to be in uh, total blind spots all the time. My hunch is your listeners are not in that mode. They want tools, they want to look, they want to see, they want to be their best. And for me, this is a tool that helps us see ourselves and to keep evolving and to be in our best selves so we can be our best at home, at church,
Yeah.
wherever we're living.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those tools. What are some of the most popular, most effective ways that you've been able to teach this?
Yeah. Exactly. Well, once people learn about the drama triangle and the empowerment dynamic, one of the first questions they ask, well, how do I get into that mess in the first place? And so that's where the mindsets come in. That's where in our work we teach the continuum between a problem reactive mindset and an empowering creator mindset. My hunch is you all have talked about that from various angles here on this podcast. Very quickly, the problem mindset is that you identify a situation and you immediately say, I don't like it. And the focus is, I got to solve this and I don't like it. So our emotional inner state that arises is some sort of heavy energy, anxiety, worry. And then we react to that inner state, that anxiety and that worry, because we don't like feeling that. We tell ourselves we're just reacting to the problem. But in our teaching, as you know, that's the roller coaster of problem in action responding to our anxiety. So the first thing is to really get clear about what are we focusing on? What is our mindset? Even given this situation, what do I really want here? That is the outcome creator mindset. And that is a big shift because usually, Anne, as you know, especially when something's upsetting, we don't know what we want.
Mhm.
We just know we don't like what we have.
Yes.
And I bet you've experienced that in coaching. Most people come to coaching complaining about what they don't want,
Yeah.
and they're not clear about what they do want. So this journey, it's an everyday journey of learning to focus life through a creator lens of saying, what is it I want right now? And what does the outcome look like? And learning to be fairly skilled at that thinking. And we'll know if we really want it if our inner state, our emotions are more uplifting. They don't have to be passionate because passion is sometimes reserved for this big mountaintop type big passion. It's just, I call it energy renewing. And the problem mindset, the inner state is is emotional depleting,
Yeah.
anxiety, worry, right? So when we can get our focus and our mindset of being outcome creator oriented, if we keep thinking about what do I want here? What do I want here? We will notice our energies rise in a renewing way. I start caring about something. I start feeling a little more joyful. I start feeling a little more uplifted. And then we take a baby step. We don't have to know exactly how we're going to figure it out. We take a baby step to get closer to that desire, that energy. So that tool of looking at our problem focused mindset into more of an outcome, what I want in this moment, is a huge tool because the drama triangle is linked to the problem focus mindset. TED, the empowerment dynamic, is a direct derivative of the outcome focus. Does that all make sense to you?
Yes.
I
Yes.
know you know the work.
So good. Okay, so I'm curious when, mentioned that sometimes when we are in the dreaded drama triangle, we're focused on these problems. It feels like there's a lot of in your head around being in the drama triangle. And whereas like the empowerment dynamic really feels like more heart-centered. Is
Yeah,
there there's like a different energy in the two, and do they come from different places?
exactly what we just talked about. The problem focus is the heavier, depleting energies.
Mm.
The outcome, what I care about as my focus, is the lighter, more heartfelt energies. Absolutely. Right on. And in my coaching classes, we really work with that. And here's the huge epiphany is that the mind that is thinking about the reactivity and what you don't want and don't like is not the mind that's going to figure out how to get out of it,
Mm.
because that mind is the one that's triggered and reactive and hijacked. The amygdala neurologically is hijacked. So we must be heart centered. And that's why I'm doing my best to really support the mainstream world that is moving more into embodiment, placing your hand on your heart and breathing in through heart focused breathing to activate the wisdom of the heart. Yeah, you're so right, Anne.
Other than this, putting your hand on your heart, what are some other tricks that you have found help people quiet their mind so they
Mm.
can access this? That
Well,
was my heart right here.
yeah, exactly. Well, of course, meditation is an ancient practice that calms our body and allows us to simply watch our mind. I certainly have found great benefit in meditation over the last many years. For many people, that doesn't work for them, and they can just even get more worked up because meditation isn't working for me. So, what I call any contemplative practice that works for you, that helps you quiet your body. You can feel it in your body. It may be journaling, it may be listening to calm music. It may be taking your puppy dog for a walk. There are many different ways, and it's just so essential because and our bodies were not built for this pace of life. Our bodies over these many, many thousands of years, who knows how long, was built to be storytellers around a campfire, to sit on a porch with your neighbors and a cup of tea. That's where we've been in our, human development, very deeply connected with family, with neighbors, And in the last 20, 30 years, what are we connected to? Social media. And so we are in a constant state of deflecting and anxiety producing posts that are now we know algorithms that are designed to activate us.
Mm,
So we're up against a very serious society challenge that keeps us in the reactive mode, neurologically and thinking wise. So contemplative practices and are huge for you. I know that they're important for you. You have 3 children, a busy family, a business. Have you a practice that helps you calm?
Well, I recently had a podcast guest on who taught me a breathing technique, like a deep breathing technique, but in through your nose, out through your mouth, slower on the exhale. And I've been doing it with my kids every night at bedtime. And I've been doing this thing where I'll count up on my fingers and then I'll count down. And it's been it's been really powerful. I mean,
Mhm.
just a simple 30 seconds and
Exactly.
it's been incredible. So um, my journaling, I try to do not, not as
Mhm.
routine as I would like, but
Well, the
yeah,
breathing is, for me, the fastest and easiest. I do a similar it's called heart-focused breathing, you you touch your heart just like you might touch your shoulder or your chin. It activates the intuition heart energies, not the muscle of the heart. It's the energies that are now very well known. There's as many neurons in your heart as there is in your brain. And when we can activate those through breathing in for those, let's say, 30 seconds, and we imagine breathing into our heart, we want to do it right now, a little deeper, a little slower. And then we breathe in a heart feeling. So, heart feelings are love, compassion, calm, appreciation, and gratitude are the main heart emotions. So, think of a time right now when you felt one of those emotions, and not so much the event, but actually the emotion itself. Now, breathe in that heart emotion a little deeper and a little slower. And you can have one more deep breath and you can come back to the moment. What did you notice? How are you feeling?
my head is tingly. That's fascinating.
Fascinating. So, what we just did is we calmed the autonomic nervous system. That is the pedal on the
I'm
gas.
gonna cry.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. So, getting all revved up, we have an amazing system in our autonomic nervous system to get us ready for fight or flight. The other part of the nervous system is let's slow down. That's called the parasympathetic. And what we just did, and you can do it in less than a minute, we activated the parasympathetic nervous system, and all of our organs in our bodies slow down. And then our intuition comes online, and we're ready to be wiser human beings about how do we want to choose to be in this moment. It's very powerful. It's called heart focused breathing.
Thank you for sharing that. That's incredible. I can't wait to share that with my kids tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your presence and your openness right here on our interview to allow it to work for you.
When we think about these roles, especially the reactive roles, why do you think it is that we and maybe it's just me, but I tend to unleash the reactive roles quicker with the closest people in my life. Like the people that I love the most, that I should be the most caring
Mhm,
and loving to, I
mhm.
feel like I am more reactive with them. And so
Isn't that a curious thing? I know. I totally know. I've been so curious about that and studying psychology and observing this. It appears to be, it's probably more complex than this simple answer, but it appears to be that we literally have a file in our head about these people. Because we've been around them for so long, we have collected so much data and, and we judge that, well, there they go again. Why are they doing it again? And it seems to spark this old file where if we're in a grocery line and somebody does the very same thing, we just, first of all, socially, we
yeah,
keep ourselves under control a little more, but we don't have a file on them. We don't really know much about them. And so that's one answer. Does that
yeah,
make sense to you that
yeah,
that's part of it?
yeah, yeah. Because the story in my head is like, you're always like this.
Exactly. Because you have a long, thick file and you just collected more information. And that's why I love this creator essence. If we could go all the way back to the very first question you asked me, is that when we really get the creator in us, this is who I am as an innate, wise, good, intelligent human being. And I have choice and I take responsibility for my choices. And everyone else is a creator too. And I see them as capable and whole and resourceful and innate goodness. Whether they're acting like it or not,
Mhm.
they are that. So now when we can stay resting in that point of view, that truth, when they do something and your tendency is to, why do they do that? I just like they're just doing it again, like you just said. Now we can pause and we can get really curious. That would be one of my other tips here is to get really curious. Like in my book, I say one of the things you can take on as a tool, TED tool, is to tell 3 stories.
Mm.
I'm going to pause for a minute and just make up 3 stories about what just happened because I really don't know what just happened. I'm just observing the external
Mhm.
drama unfolding. And I'm getting pretty good at quickly coming up with 3 stories, and they can be very fantastical. I mean, an alien just landed on their head and did it, it can be lighthearted about it, but it allows me to have a moment to soften and not judge
Mm.
and project that I know anything about what just happened. And we can give ourselves a break and we give others a break.
Yeah.
And now we can listen. Now we can learn. And it completely changes the energy of the dynamic.
When somebody learns about the drama triangle, I feel like oftentimes they start seeing it everywhere.
Yes, isn't it? We
And
hear that, don't we? Don't we hear that all
yeah,
the time?
yeah,
Because it is everywhere.
yeah. But what would you say to the listener who is seeing it everywhere and now they are wanting to point it out and change people? How do you not weaponize this framework?
Yeah, that's exactly the word. It's so the beauty of Dr. Stephen Cartman, who first named in the 60s and 70s this drama triangle, and why it has so much power in staying all these decades is because he named universal patterns. This tendency to say, "Oh, poor me, the victim in distress, the persecutor, the villain, and then the rescuer, and some call it the hero." They're in our fairy tales, they're in all of our movies, our novels, our books, our politics, our church, our family. It really is everywhere when we're in a reactive state. And boy, lately, the world has been very activated. It is very activated. So when someone wakes up to this pattern, I think there really is a tendency t to weaponize it like in teams, when we work with teams and companies, we say up front, this, you're going to start seeing this everywhere. And what we want to do is normalize it. Say, wow, look how everybody's doing this dance. And the last thing to do is to say in a team meeting, oh, you're just acting like a victim,
Uh,
or you're persecuting me, and playing with it as a controlling tool. So, yes, there can be some tendencies of that on the other, which is exactly why in our trainings and teachings, we kind of say that up front to try to help diminish that tendency. But what is it about that person that wants to weaponize it, that they're wanting to take charge and to be very persecuting to you? Could stop and have a real coaching moment there about what's going on for them that they wanna do that.
when you say normalize it, can you give us some language that we can use to help normalize it, whether it's in the workplace or with our families, with our kids, with our spouse? How do we normalize?
Well, we use the word normalize an awful lot in a crowd that maybe has a little bit more, I don't know, psychological background. I might say that it's universal archetypes.
Mm,
That people who may have studied Jungian, the archetypal,
mhm,
I call them, these are ancient human patterns.
mhm.
There's, what else? What would you say? Attempting to try to
What if I
just
were to explain it to my kids? How would I normalize it with my kids?
Yeah, that's a great question. And at the Center for the Empowerment Dynamic, we're hoping in the next year or two to really do more work around parenting. Those that have really used it in parenting have done a couple of interesting things. They've explained the basic patterns through a children's story, because it's almost always in every children's story. Something's happened to the caterpillar or whatever. And go ahead and use the language, because we've discovered that by as early as 7, 8, 9, 10, they get it. And then maybe see it in several fairy tales, stories, movies. Almost every one of Zootopia I just watched with my granddaughter.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the rescue or persecutor victim thing is all through the movie. And if you could point it out, and rather than tell them, just ask them if they're seeing it in other stories. That might be one way to start.
Yeah.
And so, just a quick story. I understand from a fellow who was teaching it in his Sunday school in the 7th grade, and somebody came back, one of the kids came back the next week and said that they saw it between a dog and a cat at their home trying to feed two different bowls of food. And the dog came over and wanted to eat the cat's food. And the cat started fighting back, and anyway, they got into a little tussle, and the 7th grader said, "Look, Dad, the dog is doing the persecutor, and then the rescuing, and then somebody," and they saw it right away. And, so, um, I think it's very available to kids because
Mm.
it is so universal.
Oh, that's great. Do you know I've been working on a children's book around this idea?
I had heard through the grapevine that you were, so we would love to have more insight on how you're sharing it with younger ones.
Yeah. And I actually have taught it. I've taught this model to kids before, and I pull little video clips, and it was so easy to find video clips of victim, rescuer, persecutor, and it was so much harder to find the video clips that showed great examples of coach, creator, challenger.
Yeah. I agree with you. We have some clips over the years that we've shown in our trainings. I think you were at one training where David showed some movie clips. Yeah, so you're already doing that. I should ask you how you've learned to explain it. The video clips is one.
Video clips, and then I use the wise owl and the barking dog, and I talk about the brain that way. And what else have we done? I've taught my kids five red things,
Yeah.
and we do five red things. We've normalized that so that it's almost a game, and taught them five red things. So for the listener, this is when you are triggered, when you're activated, you find yourself in reactive mode. We look around and look for five red things, and it's really forcing your brain to come back online, because when you're triggered, it's almost as if your brain has gone offline, right?
Exactly.
And
It
so,
really it's gone offline in that the amygdala has, totally taken over the lymph system and yeah, the thinking brain, but just that heart center does the same thing as the 5 red things. The 5 red things are great for kids.
yeah. And
Look around the room.
the 5 red things is cool because, I taught my kids 5 red things when they were not triggered so that they could then access it. We could play that game when they are triggered. Sometimes my kids get so triggered that they don't want to do 5 red things when they've been triggered. I'll see they're like about to have a meltdown and I'll ask them and they'll say, "No, I don't want to do 5 red things with you." The cool thing is, I've got all these kids and so if one kid is triggered, I could ask another kid to do it with me and just even hearing their sibling do 5 red things helps calm their brain.
That's brilliant.
In fact, like a just fascinating thing to watch.
Thank you for that reminder. I actually have forgotten about the power of the 5 red things as a tool.
Yeah,
So,
it's one of
yeah,
my
thank you
favorites.
for that. One of the other tips, I guess, is that once we calm ourselves just a little, just that 45 seconds of breathing, we are now able to ask ourselves some reflective questions. So, if I could offer 3 questions, one for each of the shifts that are really powerful questions. So the victim to creator shift we have said is, what do I want here? And sometimes we don't know what we want, but I would amend it by saying, what do I care about? Because usually we do know what we care about, and that so facilitates moving out of that poor me, victim me mindset. Okay, what do I want? What do I care about? The one for persecutor to challenger is, what is my intention? Because that question, how do you resonate with that question of what is my intention? That could help facilitate moving out of that controlling, persecuting for yourself, you admitted, is your default role. How does that help you um, move more into the challenger?
Oh, I think it just helps ground me in my why and whether I am acting out of fear or whether I'm acting out of love.
Oh, wow, beautiful. Yeah, what is my intention? For me, it helps me quickly cut through what's my motivation here. And if is it to be right? Is it to take control? Is it to look good? Is it to look smart? It can be a whole bunch of those. All of those will keep me in the controlling persecutor mindset and behavior. If my intention is to learn, to grow, to build the other one up, not to put down the other one, to build them up. Now I can move into that challenger, caring, truth telling. So first, what do I want? What do I care about is the victim to creator. Persecutor to challenger shift is, what's my intention? And then the question for moving out of rescuer pleasing into the coach, supportive role still, but not doing for others what is theirs to do. The question is, how do I see the other? Do I see them as capable and a creator? Or do I see them as needing fixing, incapable? And it's shocking to me when I tell myself the truth, when I see people needing fixing, which justifies my stepping in, right?
Mm, right.
And so those 3 questions I leave you with as additional tips. We've got to calm ourselves though, because the brain that's stuck in the reactivity has a really hard time asking those kind of higher level questions, I would say.
So when I think about this rescuer shift, how am I seeing the other person? I feel like one of the hardest areas to shift from rescuer to coach is in parenting because we are older than our kids and we've had more life experience than them. And it's so hard to not see them as a
Yeah.
kid that needs parenting and needs all the things. So then it's so easy to just slip into that rescuer.
Well, it's so easy because we care about them, and on the other hand, we want adults we want them to grow into very empowered, self-directed, uh, ability to make decisions for themselves. So it is a fine line, especially younger children. Really, mommy, I want to go out and play and it's raining. You do make sure they have boots and a coat on. You don't just let them go out and play. My hunch is we don't. But there are, as they grow, really important times to involve them in the decision making. And I just honor you. I have my children are adults, and irritated the heck when I would try to coach my kids, and they would even say, "No coach zone." But now they call and occasionally say, "Mom, could I have a little coaching?" And so it's, it's developmental, I think. If you set the community or the feeling in your home, as I know you do, that you want them to make good decisions for themselves, my hunch is you invite them into those conversations. And the more you teach them on framework, the more you can say, how do you see this? Do you see it through these roles or through those roles? So I can't wait to see your and read your book. And I know you've been working on it for a while
I
and
know, I know.
probably, yeah, good.
Okay, are you up for a couple of rapid fire questions?
Of course, yes.
Okay. What's one thing that you've stopped doing that's made a big difference in your life?
Self-criticism.
Mm.
I'm not 100% at it. I'm much better about it. And really, one of my moms was, give myself a break. Yeah, lighten up. I don't know much anyway, so just lighten up, Donna.
Yeah. Other than the books in the Empowerment Dynamic Library, most impactful book that you've read?
Oh my, that's such a great one. So the first one that comes to mind called Undaunted Courage by Stephen Ambrose about 15 years ago. And it's the story of Lewis and Clark and the courage it took, not only by President Jefferson, to support and invest, but for pioneers to go across the country, across the Rockies, across the Cascades, get all the way here in the Northwest. That courage, that's undaunted courage to me. It really made an impact on me of, how you take a life journey like that one step at a time. When you have no idea what the destination is.
Thank you for sharing that. One habit that's changed your life?
Well, heart math breathing is on the
Mm,
verge of being that habit in the
mm,
last 3, 4 years.
mm.
It's changing my ability to rest in really uncomfortable situations. I just recently had some outpatient surgery, but I got myself revved up and I just sat in the waiting room and I just breathed and calmed down. I really see that as a tool that's changing my life to be at the choice person living a choiceful life that I want to, not hijacked, truly aware and choiceful.
What's one thing that creates better relationships instantly?
Dropping judgments,
Mm.
being truly curious without knowing.
And then a question people should ask themselves more often.
Well, it's the name of my book. Who do I want to be
Um,
on the way to what I want? We're such doers in this Western world. I mean, we are human beings. What's my intention? How do I want to be while I'm still doing? Hmm.
Thank you for those rapid fire answers. Could you just share with the listener if they're listening, they want to learn more about you, about the work? What's the
Yeah.
best way to access that information?
Yeah.
Can they get in touch with you? How can they learn more?
Well, as you know, we're a boutique leadership development, human development company. We're all about creating better relationships. And our company is called the Center for the Empowerment Dynamic, TED, the Empowerment Dynamic .com. And we have a range of programs. I would say start with reading David's book that kind of started everything. It's a quick read, isn't it?
Hmm.
It's 3 or 4-hour read. It's a story, and it's called The Power of Ted.
I
And
read it
so
to my
I
kids, by the way.
You read it to your kids? Ooh, that is so cool. Yeah, it's amazing. So there you go, right there. They got it, obviously. the concepts. It's a story about a David walking on the beach with a sage-like guy that teaches him the empowerment dynamic. And it's really easy to read. Yeah. So that's where I would start, our website, but for readers, you can get David's book anywhere. Almost a 20-year run now, and we're still very popular book, which, I think it's resonating with people in these times to move out of consciousness that, we call the victim consciousness, that we're not victims, we're creators of our own lives. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And we'll drop all of the links to the book and the website into the show notes as well.
Thank you, Anne. One of the most pleasurable podcasts I've ever done. Just beautiful questions. Loved it. Thank
Thank
you.
you. If someone is listening and you want them to take one thing from this conversation, what is that one thing?
Mm. Take care of yourself. Be good to yourself. Give yourself a break. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for
much for sharing that and for being here with us today and just being so generous with your time and your wisdom. I appreciate you so much and I've
asking.
learned so much from you and I'm so thankful to have you in my life.
My goodness, Anne. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I think we're going to see each other in a few months in Dallas. I look forward to that.
Thank you, Donna. Thanks for tuning in to Empowered Living. I hope today's conversation sparked some inspiration and gave you tools to live more intentionally in your family, work, and life. If you enjoyed our episode today, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an inspiring story or actionable takeaway. And if you know someone who would love this episode, share it with them. Because living an intentional life is better when we do it together. Until next time, remember, the life you want doesn't happen by chance, it happens by choice. Let's keep creating it one step at a time.